Have you ever heard someone speak so smoothly it made you think, wow, I want to be able to speak like that person? But then just as quickly you thought, I could never speak like that person because I lack the confidence. Well, today you are going to learn 5 simple phrases that will instantly boost your credibility as a leader when you speak. If you're ready to up-level your voice, then this is the episode for you. Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is for you if you want to up-level your verbal communication. This episode was inspired in part by the early days of my corporate career. Before I became a full-time podcaster and before I became a full-time coach for professional women, which is what I do now, I had a 9-to-5 career, and in the very beginning of my career, I deeply struggled with self-confidence and with finding my voice in work conversations and meetings and in rooms that intimidated me. And I'll never forget having this experience of being in rooms and hearing other people speak and thinking that they sounded so smooth and so elegant, and noticing that they had a sense of ease and confidence in the way that they spoke. And I remember feeling envious and jealous of this skill and of the people around me who were able to share their ideas so effectively and so powerfully. I was envious because part of me was very afraid that maybe I couldn't do this. Maybe I didn't have this capability. I am an introvert. Back then, I identified as being very awkward and lacking in charisma. And I wondered and worried that maybe those things would make it impossible for me to have that type of powerful voice in a room. Now, luckily, I was not correct about that. I was able to go from questioning myself and experiencing a ton of self-doubt in these rooms to feeling genuinely confident inside, to being able to lead a room full of high-level executives through my work. Now, I want to help you get to that result faster than I got to it. So in today's episode, I'm going to be distilling my decade plus of experience working in the 9-to-5 world for big companies like McKinsey, which is a global management consulting company, and also being an executive at major consumer brands like the Walt Disney Company. I'm taking all of the experience that I gleaned from that, plus my experience from nearly 5 years of coaching women on executive communication, and I'm distilling that down to 5 easy-to-learn phrases that you can use in the room to help you sound like a credible leader. I am so excited to dive in, so let's get into the 5 phrases. Okay, for each phrase, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the phrase, then I'm going to teach you when you should use this phrase, and then I'm going to explain to you why it's so effective. So let's start with phrase number 1. Phrase number 1 is, not only did we blank, but we also blanked. This is a phrase that I want you to use anytime you are presenting your work to other people. Now, I'm going to explain to you what to fill in the blanks with, and then I'm going to share an example which will help drive home that explanation. So when you use the phrase, not only did we blank, but we also blanked, you are going to fill in the first blank with a win that you accomplished through the work that you are sharing, and you're going to fill in the second blank with an even bigger win. The idea behind this phrase is that you are positioning you and your work as extremely high impact. When you say, not only did we blank, but we also blanked, and you start with a little win, and then you share a bigger win, What happens in your audience's mind is they hear the first win, the smaller win, and they think, wow, she's good. And then they hear the second win, the bigger win, and they think, wow, she's really good. And it creates a moment where your reputation as a leader who is driving serious impact gets solidified in their minds. And I get very excited just thinking about that. So let me share an example of this phrase. Not only did we blink, but we also blinked. But I'll share an example with the blinks filled in so that you have a sense of what it sounds like. So as a fake example, let's just say that you and your team did customer research. You surveyed your company's customers to learn about their preferences, and you are sharing the results of that survey to a room full of leaders. If you were to use the phrase, not only did we blank, but we also blanked, you might say something like, not only did we learn what features our customers like most, but we also used those insights to improve the messaging on next quarter's marketing campaign. So you can see here, first I shared a little win, then I shared a big win. The little win was that you learned what features your customers like, but the big win was that you used those insights to improve the messaging on next quarter's marketing campaign. This creates that double whammy moment where your audience thinks, wow, because they have that small wow at the first win and that bigger wow at the second win. When you use a phrase like this, it creates something that I call impact hunger. Impact hunger is a phrase that I've coined, and it refers to the feeling that an executive has when they see that you are able to create so much impact that it makes them feel quote unquote hungry to get more of that impact from you to benefit them. When you generate impact hunger, executives tend to want to keep an eye on you. They tend to want to pull you into higher visibility projects. They tend to want to promote you and retain you because the whole idea with impact hunger is their thought process is, wow, if she can create that much impact doing this piece of work, I wonder what kind of impact she can create if she does similar work for me. And that's where the hunger comes in. They become hungry for you to help them achieve impact. And there is nothing better for your career than high-level executives wanting to pull you into their most important initiatives. Now, one thing that I want to share about this phrase, because I know that it can feel scary to share your wins and to talk about the positive outcomes from the work that you did. And in this phrase, you're not just sharing wins, you're sharing double wins. Like you're sharing a little win and then you're sharing a bigger win. So this can elicit feelings of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm bragging and that feels really unnatural. And how do I do this in a way that feels authentic? And I want to share a reframe with you so that you can think of this phrase in a way that makes those fears go away. So when you use this phrase, instead of thinking about it as you are quote unquote bragging about your work, which by the way, there's nothing wrong with bragging, but if it helps you to not think of it as bragging, if that helps it feel more comfortable for you, then one reframe that will really help you is to think about this phrase as being of service to an executive audience. When you say, not only did we blank, but we also blinked, and you share the little win and then you share the bigger win, you're helping your executive audience see how your work fits into the bigger picture. And their entire job is to figure out how that more detailed work fits into the bigger picture. So when you make that connection for them, you are making it easier for them to do the deep thinking that they need to be doing to lead effectively. So I want you to think about this phrase as being not just for you, but being very useful and important for your audience. So that is phrase number one. Not only did we blink, but we also blinked. Now, before I move on to phase number two, I want to make sure you know that I created a free written guide to go with today's episode. So in this guide, you will find all of the phrases that I'm teaching in today's episode. The guide lists out the 5 phrases, it shows you examples of each phrase, and it even has instructions on when to use the different phrases. This way, you do not need to stress about remembering the phrases or writing everything down while you're trying to listen. I really want you to be able to implement these phrases, but I don't want you to be stressed about scribbling notes. So I created this free guide where you will find all 5 of the phrases that I'm teaching in today's episode. You can print out this worksheet, you can keep it by your desk, and it will help you implement everything that you are learning. To grab this free guide, head over to the link in the show notes or go to jessguzik.coaching.com/phrases. Okay, let's get into phrase 2. Ooh, this is such a good one. Phrase 2. Phrase 2 is, I want to grow and create more impact, and I want to do that here. So this is a phrase that you will use when you are discussing your promotion goals with your boss. So there are going to be points in your career where you have sit-down conversations with your boss to talk about the future and your future at the company. And when you're expressing your desire to get promoted, I want you to use this phrase, and I want you to say, I want to grow and create more impact, and I want to do that here. Here's why this phrase is so powerful. It emphasizes that you are loyal to your company and that you want to create more value for your company by stepping into a leadership role. When you use a phrase like this, it's going to feel less like you are asking your boss or your company to give you something and give you a promotion, and it's going to feel more like you are offering something to your boss and to the company. The truth is, all of us humans, we are just inherently selfish. Not in a bad way, but we think about our needs and how things can benefit us. So when it comes to us getting something that we want, one of the most effective ways for us to get what we want faster is to show our audience how the thing we want benefits them. And when you use this phrase, I want to grow and create more impact, and I want to do that here, what your boss is going to hear is a highly motivated employee who wants to achieve results that will make your boss look good and that will make the company look good. So they're going to be thinking less about, oh, she wants a promotion, and more like, oh, she's going to do all of these things that will make me look really good for having promoted her. It also prevents us from falling into the entitlement trap. Sometimes when we ask for something, we want to make sure we don't sound entitled. And when we focus on what we can give and what we can contribute, it really helps us do that. And so the reciprocal nature of this phrase is what makes it so effective. Okay, let's move on to phrase 3. Phrase 3 is, today I'll be asking you to blank so we can blank. So this is a phrase that I want you to use any time that you are kicking off a meeting. I want you to say, today I'll be asking you to blank so we can blank. Now, in the first blank, I want you to put your ask from the audience for your meeting. I want you to figure out, what do I need from my audience? Do I need a decision? Do I need them to approve a decision? Do I need their input? And whatever the answer to that is, that goes in the first blank. And in the second blank, I want you to share the bigger business goal that is being accomplished in the meeting. So here's an example of, today I'll be asking you to blank so we can blank. Today, I'll be asking you to approve our marketing budget so we can begin implementing next quarter's growth campaign. So in the first blank, I included the ask. We're asking you to approve the marketing budget. And in the second blank, I shared the bigger business goal, which is that we want to begin implementing next quarter's growth campaign. Here's why this phrase is so effective at positioning you as a leader. It's because it demonstrates something called bias to action. Bias to action just means that you are someone who has a bias to taking action. Your natural inclination, your default next step is to take action. Bias to action is a super important leadership trait that companies will look for when they're deciding if someone is ready to be promoted. And when you say, today I'll be asking you to blank so we can blank, you are demonstrating bias to action. You are showing people, I'm not wasting your time. I brought you to this meeting for a reason, and today we are getting something done. So remember earlier in this episode when I talked about impact hunger and this idea that the way that you communicate can create impact hunger, which just means that your executive audience feels hungry for you to help them make a bigger impact. When you use a phrase like this and you say, today I'll be asking you to blank so we can blank, it generates impact hunger because it shows executives she's someone who gets it done effectively. And those are the kinds of people that they know can help them move complex initiatives over the finish line. Now, one thing that can feel scary about this phrase, this comes up when I'm working with my clients in the Art of Speaking Up Academy. It can feel scary to be direct and to just outright tell your audience what you need and to command them to give you what you need. But the reframe that I want to give you is that giving instruction to your audience is a service. You are doing them a service. I want you to think about it as if you go to a yoga class, you want the instructor to tell you what to do. If you go to a cooking class, you want the instructor there to tell you what to do. And if the instructors don't tell you what to do, you feel disoriented and you wonder if your time is being wasted. I want you to think about your executive audience the same way. When they come into your meeting, it's as if they're coming into your yoga class. They want to know that you have a plan and they want to know that they can trust you to guide them. So when they hear you say, today I'll be asking you to blank so we can blank, this is going to be calming and helpful and reassuring for them. So once again, a really easy way to get past the fear of sounding too direct is to think about this as being in service of your audience. Okay, so let's move on to phrase 4. This is a ninja phrase. I love this phrase so much. Phrase 4 is, can you share more of your thoughts? Can you share more of your thoughts? So this is a phrase that you're going to use when someone is challenging you. If they're pushing back, if they're telling you that they don't like your work or they don't like your proposal or they don't like your suggestion, I want you to say, can you share more of your thoughts? The reason this is so effective is, number one, it buys you time to think and take a deep breath and get grounded and calm your body, which is often something that we really need to do when someone is challenging us in the room, because that can feel very distressing. It can be very activating for our nervous system. We can lose mental focus. But when we say, can you share more of your thoughts? It gives us a minute to take a deep breath and collect ourselves and regroup while our stakeholder begins responding to the question. So it's hugely beneficial to you, but even more importantly, it demonstrates massive amounts of leadership maturity. Most people, when they get challenged, especially if they get challenged by a senior level stakeholder, will become defensive. It is very rare to see a leader who is so confident that they can be challenged by someone in the room and have the courage to invite that person to share more about why they are challenging them. And when you do that, you really stand out when it comes to your maturity and cross-functional collaboration and stakeholder management skills. And when you ask your stakeholder to share more of their thoughts with you, they feel like you're listening. They feel like you're respecting them. And when they feel that way, it helps you be more persuasive. It is easier for you to persuade a stakeholder who likes you and feels like you're listening versus to persuade a stakeholder who feels like you aren't listening and who feels like you're pushing back against them. When you ask this question and you say, can you share more of your thoughts? It really sets you up to have a more mature dialogue around the potential issue. This is a phrase that I teach in depth inside the Art of Speaking Up Academy, because a core communication skill that we have to have as a leader is we have to know how to solve problems and work through challenges. And I love this phrase so much because it's a way of solving problems and working through challenges while being respectful and collaborative and while fostering a sense of connectedness in a room rather than fostering more of an adversarial feeling. Now, I know it can feel scary. If someone challenges you, it feels terrifying to tell them to share more, right? Like as soon as someone challenges us, we just want to tell them to zip it because it's exposing. So the reframe that I want to offer you around that is that the people who are the most confident aren't afraid to delve into an obstacle or a disagreement. So when you use this phrase, you are showing everyone around you that you have next level confidence and next level leadership because you are not there to be defensive or argue. You are there to solve problems with your stakeholders and achieve the best possible results for the business. And this leads perfectly into phrase number 5, which is also related to disagreement. So phrase 5 is, I want to make sure blank, so I recommend we blank. So this is a phrase that you're going to use when you are disagreeing or pushing back against someone else's suggestion. So let me tell you what goes in the blank. The first blank is the bigger business goal, and the second blank is the suggestion that you are sharing. So for example, let's say that you have a project timeline and one of your stakeholders says, this timeline is too long. I need you to deliver this 1 week earlier. And you know that it is not possible to deliver it 1 week earlier. Instead of saying, I can't deliver it 1 week earlier, you're going to use this phrase and you're going to say, I want to make sure blank, so I recommend we blank. So in this case, you would say, I want to make sure we have enough time to incorporate client feedback into the end product. So I recommend we stick with the longer 3-week timeline. So you're filling in the first blank with the bigger benefit. You're saying, I want to make sure we have time to incorporate client feedback. And then you're filling in the second blank with your suggestion. So it's, I want to make sure blank, so I recommend we blank. The reason this works is because that first blank, when you say, I want to make sure blank, and you share that bigger business goal, you get immediate buy-in in that moment because everyone wants to make that goal happen. You're leading with something that everyone in the room can get behind. And that way, then, when you actually share your suggestion and you share the piece that is the quote-unquote disagreement, people have already bought into the first blank and they've already bought into the rationale that you've shared, which makes them much more likely to buy into your suggestion. And this phrase, just like phrase number 4, it demonstrates enormous leadership maturity and bigger picture thinking because you're showing people that you are not just pushing back willy-nilly, but that you are thinking deeply about the project and the goals of the project and what makes the most sense anytime that you are making a decision or offering a suggestion. Now, a reframe that I want to share with you around this is when you use a phrase like, I want to make sure blank, so I recommend we blank, the reframe is that you are not arguing with the stakeholder, you are fighting for the goals of the business. This is such a useful reframe. A lot of my clients struggle with assertiveness because they feel like they're fighting with the other person or telling the other person that they're wrong. And I really want you to think about it as you're never fighting with the other person. You're fighting for the business with the other person on the same team as you. We're not fighting against the stakeholder. We're fighting for the business collectively with the stakeholder. You're not saying, I think you're wrong and we should do it my way. You're saying, I want to make sure we win. I want to make sure this goes well. So here's what I recommend. This can really help take the edge off and just make it feel less scary for you to use a phrase like this. So I'm going to quickly recap the 5 phrases. And to make sure that you really learn these and remember these and use these, don't forget to download the free guide that goes with this episode. You can grab it by clicking the link in the show notes or going to jessguzikcoaching.com/phrases. Here are the 5 phrases that we learned in today's episode. Number 1, not only did we blank, but we also blanked. Number 2, I want to grow and create more impact, and I want to do that here. Number 3, today I'll be asking you to blank so we can blank. Number 4, can you share more of your thoughts? Number 5, I want to make sure blank, so I recommend we blank. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you found this useful, share it with a friend or a coworker who would benefit from learning these 5 phrases. Maybe share it with someone on your team who reports into you. I've had so many clients share with me that they've shared specific episodes with their team members to support their team members' professional development. And I think that is awesome. That makes me so excited that the message is being heard and the impact is being made. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to download the free guide that goes with today's episode. That is linked in the show notes. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye.